sense victory already. Victory as a result of the people of this our beloved country.
That's right.
Who has recognized the hard work, the commitment, and the dedication of this, the Anguilla United Movement team. So therefore, I bring greetings to you, fellow Anguillians, residents, visitors, and those of you who could not be with us this evening, but are sharing in this exercise by way of Radio Anguilla and 97.7 Upbeat Radio. I want to say to you this evening, fellow Anguillians, that your government is before you to deliver the facts as it relates to what is happening in this our beloved country.
Nothing but the truth. Yeah, bring it on.
And therefore, I wish this evening, while it is that we are fired up,
and ready to go,
while it is we are ready to go, that we do it in a way in which you can understand clearly what it is that we have been doing on your behalf and in your interests. And therefore, I will ask of you to share with me as I address two issues this evening. And those two issues are the interim stabilization levy and the fiscal framework for sustainable development. But how can I begin without saying that we have had a leader in this district for the last 40 years and is about to pass on the mantle of leadership. And is about to pass on the leadership of the mantle of leadership to one of these 7 candidates here before you. Not being moved or shaken by the opposition as to when to do it, but that we as a team collectively will do it in our time. We will not be moved or shaken by the whims and fancies of the opposition, who only can preach who is the leader. But I want to say to them this evening that we have one leader this time, and that leader is the Honorable Chief Minister, who is still the leader of this country. And we have a capable team that each and every one of us in our own right are capable to lead this island in the interest of your best. Ladies and gentlemen, we're excited. You know why we're excited?
Very much.
We're excited because the Chief Minister has realized that he has made a significant contribution to District Number 6 and to Anguilla over the last 40 years, and is now ready to pass on the mantle of representation in this District Number 6 to a capable individual in the person of Hon Jerome. And despite, ladies and gentlemen, what you will hear the naysayers saying about Hon Jerome and Jerome Roberts for fighting for leadership, it is far, far from the truth. Hon Jerome and myself, we're all interested in the development of our country. Not about leadership. Leadership will come. Leadership will come in time. But we cannot all be captains. It is important that we have that crew. And we have a crew. And we have a leader. And therefore, I'm excited about that. So to the issues before you this evening. The interim stabilization levy. There's been much political chatter since the inception of the interim stabilization levy, ladies and gentlemen. As you would recall, and Sam echoed to it earlier, when this administration took office in 2010, and it is important that we remind you, history is important.
Yeah.
When this administration took office in 2010, this administration met no budget to work with, and there was no budget presented, ladies and gentlemen, because the Fair and Buller United Front administration wanted to shade us and keep us in the dark as it relates to the finances of this country. So when the Honorable Chief Minister and others on the AUN campaign in 2010 indicated that we cannot tax a dead economy, he was right. But the reality on entering office, to realize the position of this treasury in this country, there's no other recourse than for us to look at ways and means to keep our country and our people afloat. It was impossible to do business from day one. How can you do business with an empty and bankrupt treasury?
Tell them.
And we do not want to be fooled by the opposition when you hear them say that the money is not kept in the treasury, it is kept in the bank. They think you are foolish. District number 6 and following Williams. When we speak about there's no money in the treasury, we speak to what is there to run the affairs of this country. And all of us are well aware. We are well aware that there is a bank account for every individual, and the government of Angola is no exception. There's also bank accounts. So the money is deposited in the bank account, but there was no money in the bank account to run the affairs of this country. This administration, when close to 1 week before the bills were due in terms of payment for its civil servants, after taking office, was scrambling to understand the financial position of this country, and scrambling to find measures to stabilize this country. You must recall the fact that the Fair and Buller United Front, who now has as its slogan, and I repeat that and I'll say it very slow. They have as their slogan, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about you. It's all about you. I wonder if it was all about you in 2010 when we took over a bad situation with the real deep of government salaries and plunged this country into financial decay. Was it all about you then? How can it be all about you now?
Brother, think we foolish.
Forget that failed administration, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to say to you that in 2010 when we took office, there was a deficit of some 70 million EC dollars. Close to 20 million EC dollars in unpaid invoices.
Tell them.
A loan borrowed from the St. Lucia Bank of some 20 million EC dollars. And remember the famous borrowing from the Dominica Bank of some 10 million EC dollars? This, ladies and gentlemen, caused the domino effect in that the duly elected government has to quickly find institutions and other measures to meet its commitment by the end of that February payday period. But I must pause. I must pause to say thanks to the father of the nation, the Honorable James Ronald Webster. have to give thanks for his introduction of the Social Security Board scheme.
That's the truth.
Today, we are benefiting greatly from Social Security. But fellow ingredients, like anything new, it comes with pain.
That's right.
And I'm sure that there are many persons who are upset when they have to pay into the Social Security system. But the benefits are there today. I say thank you to the Father of the nation. It was this situation to which the environmental movement had to run quickly in search of rescue when we took office in 2010.
Yes.
We ran to the Social Security to bail us out. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? The failed and well united front, who says it's all about you, did not tell us that during the latter parts of their months when they were borrowing left, right, and center, plunging this country to death, that it was only through the grace of Social Security to which they turned to month after month after month that saved this country from plunging under. But it's all about you.
Yeah. That's what they say. You got children. You got children.
During 2010, this administration continued to seek ways and means of addressing the untenable post-fiscal position in which the Anglo-United Front had left this country. This involved, ladies and gentlemen, immediate discussions with donor partners, funding agencies, as well as strategizing for the best way forward. We were able, through the hard work of our civil servants and technical staff, under the watchful eye of the then Public Secretary, Mrs. Kathleen Rogers, to reach some agreements that would have eased some of the pressure in a short term in order for us to move forward. Let me hear it for those individuals. Nothing but the facts this evening. I wish to remind you that we ended 2010, a government coming into a bad fiscal position, ended 2010 with a deficit, meaning that we were short by 10 million EC dollars, coming from a position of $70 million. Give your government some credit for that. You recall in 2011, we were asked or rather demanded by the Foreign Currency Office to introduce new measures. And what measures you think this was? New tax measures, ladies and gentlemen. A request that the Foreign and Commonwealth Office made to the same and United Front prior to us coming to office. The same, our Chief Minister, immediately set up a tax reform working group to propose some new measures that will be considered fair and equitable to our people. This was done, and subsequently public consultation took place. Some of the proposed measures were viewed favorably, and some were not viewed favorably. So we took on what the people said and we implemented. As a responsible government, after careful review and assessment of the financial dilemma, which could be fairly attributed to the poor management of the public's purse by the previous administration, and further compounded by the global economic pressures, we implemented some new tax measures. But how does a country get its revenue? A country gets its revenue through taxation, through grants, or through foreign direct investment. And we are quite aware, ladies and gentlemen, that grants are scarce. Everywhere, everyone is cutting back. And we too have to cut back and realize that we have to be responsible. implemented was the famous interim stabilization levy. This levy was introduced to help us, fellow Anguillians, stabilize this island's finances and financial base. And I want you to see how hypocritical those who vie for office are.
Yeah.
Because I want to remind you of a quote by the former Minister of Finance, Victor Banks, when he stated in one of his budget speeches, we have to pay our way.
Yeah.
We have to pay our way.
Yeah.
Why did he use this quote some years ago, ladies and gentlemen? And why is this team now making the interim stabilization levy an issue?
Yeah.
Isn't this a means of us helping to pay our way?
Yeah.
Yes.
I want you to listen carefully to what is said on these podiums and not to be fooled by persons who think that they are so upright, transparent, and honest.
Yeah.
The interim stabilization levy is a vehicle by which we are using at this time to stabilize this island's finances. And like anything new, there will always be those for and those against.
Yeah.
What your government did was indeed done in the best interest of not some, but all of Anguilla at a time when the levy was introduced. What is worthy of note is that the levy and other additional measures taken were imposed as a result of a bankrupt treasury left by the failed and villain municipal administration who claim today it's all about you.
Yeah.
So they break up the treasury, they're making you pay for it today, and they say it is all about you.
Yeah.
Fellow Anguillians, I agree that if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But in this case, in 2010, we had no choice. We had no choice. We had to fix a broken position. And from then up to now, we have been fixing the broken position of the finances of this country.
We'll fix it.
Yeah.
And we are proud to know that you have given us the charge in 2010 to bring stability and responsibility and fiscal prudence back to you, the people of this country. So at the end of 2012, with this new measure in place and other measures and mechanisms used by this administration, we were able to balance a budget. I repeat, we were able to balance a budget with a surplus. Ladies and gentlemen, and you would recall that it was the same budget which a bad governor of the past, Alistair Harrison, did not assent to until the conclusion made by the Fed Gandhi and Wiggins, who stated this budget. It was not you or you, General Chief Minister, who said those words.
Not his word.
It was not the civil servants who said those words.
Not at all.
It were two consultants who were brought here by the Foreign and Common Office, recognizing the work of the civil servants and the government, he said, this budget stands. It is no secret that the interim stabilization levy was earmarked to be a short-term stopgap measure in order to keep this island's finances afloat. And then it was supposed to be a phased process into the National Health Fund. Fellow Anguillians, This is still the objective of this administration. But we have to be vigilant and prudent in preparing for this transition. The global economic crisis is still with us, and by extension, the rest of the world, and therefore, we are not out of the woods, and as such, this measure is still in effect. The interim stabilization levy, which on average produces for the government of Angola's revenue in the range of some 12 million EC dollars, is a big plus in assisting the government with meeting its recurrent expenditure on a monthly basis. Without this measure at this time, where would we have been, fellow Angolians?
No way.
The interim stabilization levy do not go into the pockets of the ministers of government. It goes, fellow Angolians, into the consolidated fund, which means that it is used for any expenditure measure that government has to honor. I said any. So therefore, don't think that when you pay, it is just going into the pockets of the ministers. It is going into the main fund in which government uses to pay its expenditure, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So you're contributing to your island's development. You're well aware of the request from the Foreign Office as to the government's need to reduce the civil servants count by 30%.
Yeah, tell them.
Did we do that? Did your caring government did that? No. It's all about you.
Yeah, tell them.
I think it's all about you when it comes to this administration, ladies and gentlemen. The Anguilla United Movement. We could have done like Barbados did.
Yes.
Barbados sent 3,000.
Yeah.
We could have done like St. Lucia is intending to do. Reduce the salaries by 5%. We could have done like what Grenada is thinking about doing with their civil servants. But what did we do? We squeeze, we control, we protect, and we maintain our civil service numbers today. I say leave the chips fall where they may. We have done our bit in your interest. But if you want to be ungrateful, that is your choice. But your government will continue to work in your best interest, regardless of which political design you may be on. Because we see you as Angolans, first and foremost. And we are here to protect the rights of our people. Do you know?
Stay on the move.
Do you know?
Really, man. Really, yes.
The government on a monthly basis is meeting its financial commitments on a timely basis.
Yes.
Have you heard one civil servant who indicated that they did not get paid on time since this administration came? Do you know what is contributed to that, fellow Williams? Your interim stabilization levy is contributing to that. Government, since taking up office, has not been in a position to do anything significant by way of capital work. But do you know that there's some minor work that is being done as a result of what? Your interim stabilization contribution?
Right.
I can go on and on to illustrate to you what your benefit has done in terms of your contribution to the stabilization levy for the development and advancement of our island in lieu of imposing other types of taxes or reduction to costs via the termination of our civil servants. Ask the critics, what would they have done differently? Ask them measure or measures would they have imposed by bringing the result? What measure or measures would have been imposed by bringing them results to the same outcome? Let's get what I'm saying here. If it was not the interim stabilization levy and the Anguilla United Front was in office, what was the other measures that they would have used to bring our financial base forward? Ladies and gentlemen, there's no doubt that they had to use some measure of taxation to balance our budget. They would have also took the route of probably sending those persons to whom they say it's all about you. They will send a few of you home packing. But I want you to ask them. Ask the critics. Ask them, what have they benefited from the interim stabilization levy? Ask Mr. Banks. Where does his pension come from? What helps to contribute to his pension? Ask any parliamentarian, including myself, where does our salary come from? The interim stabilization levy, fellow and Williams. So it is critical that we note the hypocrisy of the opposition when they speak about the interim stabilization levy as if though it is the worst thing that ever happened on this country. It happened as a result of their poor fiscal management of this country. And when you talk about hypocrisy, it always gets me upset.
It does me
when I
too.
hear the opposition speaking to this interim stabilization levy as if though it's the worst thing. But I want to say to you, fellow and Williams, that it's not the civil servants who in this case I'm referring to, but ask the critics. How many of them have come forward running for early advance in payment of salaries? I am not trying to get low or dirty with anyone. I'm presenting the facts. When they speak about the interim stabilization levy as if it was the worst thing that this government introduced, it is the same interim stabilization levy to which those on the other side have been running to government for all the salaries on monthly basis. Fellow Williams, the introduction of the interim stabilization levy was a means to an end. That being to help to stabilize and balance our fiscal position.
Oh boy.
And to quote Mr. Banks' statement again, we have to prepare to pay our way. If we love this rock, we have to show that we love this rock, fellow and Williams. And if it means that it has to pain us a little bit at times, we have to bear that pain in the interest of the love for our country. And therefore, we have not yet accomplished the ultimate goal. And as loyal and brilliant, we must commit to putting all our hands on deck for our island, for away the negative chatter and opposition. Your government is working in your best interest. Together, we will each achieve. Let us therefore remain focused on the bigger picture.
Anguilla.
And that is an island in which which we can all remain proud and free. It was John F. Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen, the late John F. Kennedy, who stated, and I quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Like folks that have tried to put some sort of semblance
It did well.
and to educate you a bit on the reason for the interim stabilization levy. And I sum it up by saying this, ladies and gentlemen, your government entered office in 2010.
Yeah.
Your government met an empty treasury. There was no money to work with as a result of the past administration. Your government had to seek sources of funding. Your government recognized that we are all partners in this business. Your government went to work, solicit the ideas of people within this country and external sources, and we came up with measures that we felt would have been in the best interest of all of us. Hence, the interim stabilization levy was one such measure that this government put in place. And this measure today, ladies and gentlemen, is helping to bless this, our beloved country. It is helping every single person in this country, one way or the other. And let's speak about every person and refer to the opposition as well. This levy is paying every single parliamentarian. So it is paying Elson Dale, who was fired. It is paying the two opposition members. It is paying the government side. It is paying our speaker. And most of all, it is paying our civil servants and our retirees and pensioners. When you call for the police, we pay.
Yeah.
Ambulance.
When you have the school buses going through this district, we pay. When you ask for good roads, we pay. And let's speak about we, all of we.
Yeah.
All of we are one. And all of we are in this business together. Your government is a responsible government and is looking out for your best interests. I'm quite aware, fellow Williams, that there's a time limit in which we wish to keep our speeches. But when I feel moved to speak to you, the people, I will speak. And I've been away from you for 3 meetings, so I think I have the right to speak a little bit longer than the others. But not as long as our main speaker. But I said to you that there are 2 issues. I've addressed the interim stabilization levy. And I wish and hope that you have appreciated what I've said to you. I wish to draw to your attention now the fiscal framework for sustainable development. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, when we call for public consultation, this is what we should be seeing. This sort of gathering is what we should be seeing. When you hear that something happening, it's in your interest to show that you're concerned. So that nobody can pull anything across your eyes and fool you.
Not at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, much has been said that this administration has not invested in capital projects, thus releasing much needed monies throughout this island. And when I speak about capital projects, I refer to government infrastructure. Our schools, our roads, our hospital, our ports. This is our capital investment. But I wish to inform you that such a statement ought to be taken in the context of what is happening around us in terms of the overall global meltdown. What one ought to note is that no major capital work has taken place in this beautiful island of Anguilla sad to say, since 2008, my friends. So you understand that our infrastructure is in a deplorable state.
Right.
What has been happening over the years has been piecemeal fixes using the scarce financial resources to keep things afloat on this island. This administration has been working extremely hard to develop our infrastructure to meet the growing needs of this island, and it has been difficult, but we have made it thus far. And we say to God be the glory. You recall that in May last year, 2013, Honorable Chief Minister signed the Fiscal Framework for Sustainable Development, a legal contract with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office as to how government will proceed with capital development on this island. This came with conditions that are not comfortable to us, but we did take into consideration the bigger picture, that there must be checks and balances, transparency and openness in the way the public purse is controlled. We recognize that while the global recession impacted our island resources, that poor choices made under the failed administration of the Angolan United Front also led us in this position that we are in today. So the Fiscal Framework for Sustainable Development, which core principles include, and I share with you, sustainable development, medium and long-term development and fiscal planning, value for money, management of risk and accountability are the pillars which will drive Angola's capital development into the future. Fellow Angolians, your Angola United Movement government is a blessing to Angola.
Yes,
It is a blessing to Angola. This government has brought Angola from the precipice to which we have been taken by the failed Angola United Front to a place where today we are indeed much more comfortable. This has been done under the stewardship and capable leadership and support given to none other than the Honorable Hubert Benjamin Hughes, his team, and our civil servants. This island was on a runaway track with money flowing from east to west, north to south. But still today, our infrastructure is crying out for help. The Fiscal Framework for Sustainable Development is the working document that will drive transparency, which will drive accountability, and will drive openness as it relates to the public's purse. No longer can the old traits and operations of doing business continue. This document provides the guidance for doing business in Angola. No longer can the handouts of jobs to friends and family continue. No longer can the kickbacks in the form of percentages, be it 5, 10, or 20, be received with this document. Your government signed it, yes, under pressure because of some of the conditions, but we signed it in your best interests.
Under pressure.
You would have heard us mention a number of projects thus far that are due to come on stream this year. And some may be saying it's all talk and no action. Some have even heard that it is alleged that there are some civil servants who are saying this will not happen and that will not happen. But I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, your government is at work.
That's right.
I wish to say to you that if things were like before, yes, there would have been action by now. But the level of transparency, the level of accountability and openness would not have been displayed. And therefore, it would have affected our public purse. Every project that's put forward must first meet the core principles of the fiscal framework for sustainable development. One of the key components as well is the requirement for value for money study. No longer can a politician call on civil servants from their offices or their homes on the street to fulfill a need in his or her constituency. For example, you cannot call me to resurface a road in my district. You cannot call me to fix a basketball court or sporting facility. I cannot call my civil servants to do that without meeting the requirement of the fiscal framework for sustainable development. Residents of Great Point, I wish to say to you this evening that the construction of the first phase for the Adrian T. Hazel School is a commitment from your government, and this has met the requirements of the fiscal framework for sustainable development. Due to the process required by legislation and those administering such, we have not yet finalized the official starting date for this project. What I can say to you is that it is earmarked to take 16 to 17 weeks once it starts, and that was reported to us just as recently as this week by the technocrats. As Minister with responsibility for education, I am committed to seeing this happen and happen very soon.
All right.
I want to say to you, the residents of District Number 6, that this is a commitment, this has been approved, and this will indeed happen.
All right.
I want you to be just a little bit more patient with us. I want to share with you as well, as it relates to that school, that there are some lands that are fenced, that do not belong to the government of Angola, and have been fenced for some time, that we have to also secure while we are doing this project. So your government is at work in trying to secure those lands, and I'm happy to report that the family is very much considerate and is working with the government, and we are sure to overcome that very shortly as well. And we say thank you. Your government, and in particular your district representative, the Honorable Hubert Benjamin Hughes, and your parliamentary secretary are keen to see this completed. And rest assured, I, as Minister of Education, is keen to cut the ribbon. So I urge you to be patient as you work through this project and the process as set out by the fiscal framework for sustainable development. So it is not the government that is holding up the project, it's a process. And we are committed to delivering on this. District 6, sorry. We have learned from the mistakes of the past under the failed and going for the administration. And while the fiscal framework for sustainable development process is painstaking, we have to honor our commitment and the legal obligation of the fiscal framework for sustainable development. What is critical to note as well for Angolians is that a condition in working with the fiscal framework for sustainable development requires us as a government to have 3 months reserves in our possession. Critical. We have to have at least 3 months reserves in our position. 3 months reserves amounts to just over 30 million EC dollars, and this money that we would not be able to use for nothing else but to bail us out in the event we were not in a position to meet our regular monthly recurrent expenditure.
Tell them.
They are also saying, tap into the present reserves of the $20+ million. Spend, spend, spend. We want what? But we also have a legal obligation. My friends, that is not prudent, number one, and that is not being responsible. So until your government can get to a position where the reserves are more than what is required to cover the 3 months recurrent expenditure, then other areas can be addressed. It is at that time whereby decisions, for example, on police training of our people can be viewed, further infrastructure development can be looked at, assistance to less fortunate in our community can be addressed once we get over that 3-month reserve that we need to have in place. So I trust that I've tried to educate you a bit on the facts that capital development on our island is guided by the principles of the fiscal framework and not the politicians. The Chief Minister cannot build you a road without it passes through this process. The Parliamentary Secretary, with all good intentions, cannot build you a recreation centre without it passing through this process. So I wish you to bear these things in mind, that we have processes. We are the government of the day, and we have a handle on what the processes are in which we have to deal with as it relates to the capital development of this country. In closing, I wish to thank you, the residents of this district, because without you, the Honorable Chief Minister would not have been in government today. And without him being in government, and the support, the commitment, the trust that the people of District Number 2 put in me, I would not have been here on this podium this evening. So I want to say from this podium and here in District Number 6, I want to thank the Honorable Chief Minister and the Honorable Human Youth for allowing me to be part of this team and for placing his trust and confidence in me to keep watch of this land from time to time in his absence as acting Chief Minister. I wish to thank him for the exposure granted to me in the attendance to several regional and international conferences with him as we seek to represent the interests of you, our people. Mr. Hughes has served in Angola for many years, and we have to show our love and appreciation for his service. So let's show him some love. Many may oppose the style and approach, but I say, from a child, I've heard it, I've grown to accept it. That is his style, that is his approach. I have a different style, I have a different approach. And every speaker that comes before you this evening will have their own style and their approach. What is important is not the style or the approach. What is important is the message. The message is what is important.
Very much important.
There's every preacher, and each preacher has the style, and he has his approach. But it is what it is that he is presenting to his audience.
Yes, my
And I want to say that with Mr. Hughes' style and approach, with approach, saw the former governor, Alistair Harrison, taking flight back to the UK to which he belongs. A man who did not have this country at heart.
Yes, sir.
But it is the Honorable Hubert Benjamin Hughes, style and approach, and the support of you, the people of Angola,
Yes.
that helped to see him back into the cold today.
Yes. We drive him out.
It was Mr. Hughes' style and approach, his patience, that see us today here, and these numbers supporting him. But most of all, it is the style and approach that see us tonight having 2 meetings in 2 different districts when he fired Elson out of there. Constituency number 6. We know he is to you like a father, a brother, an uncle, and a friend. And he recognizes years of service, his dedication. And he has decided, listen up carefully, he has decided, not forced by anyone, he has decided that it is time to pass the mantle on to someone else. And that someone is no stranger to you, a son of this district, the Honorable Hughes. District number 6, you are in good hands.
Yes.
You are in good hands with Henry Hughes. You're in good hands with Henry Hughes in comparison with Mr. Banks, representative here in Boy, Mr. Johnson. You are in good hands with Henry Hughes. District 6, you are in the hands of a man who's capable and has shown his work as an administrator in his role as a parliamentary secretary with responsibility for tourism and sports. Continue to do in the interest of not just this district, but the interest of Angola. Henry Hughes has shown that despite the negativity, he can still stand tall. Henry Hughes. District number 6, we cannot afford to have Angola gamble or sold away from under our feet. They will gamble or sold this country from under our feet. I therefore encourage you, district number 6. I encourage you, district number 6, to vote and support our candidate representing the tree, the Honorable Hughes, as your next district representative. You have other choices in this district. And democracy is at work. You have other candidates in this district. And democracy is at work. But I want you to look at honesty, integrity, transparency, openness, Glen Point, South Hill, together, Water Slum, Little Harbor,
Stand up.
and Burr.